Hello friends, good evening and welcome to Super Coaching Regulatory Bodies by Testbook. So friends, here again I am present here with another session of practice batch, which is very important for the upcoming RBI Grade B Phase 2 examination as well as NABARD Grade A Phase 2 examination. So as a part of this series, that is practice batch, what we are discussing the most important concepts of the economics and social issues in the form of MCQs. So also in the session I would be discussing 20 important MCQs that is based on the important concept of economic and social issues and which have a high probability of being asked in the upcoming RBI Grade B Phase 2 examination as well as NABARD Grade A Phase 2 examination too. So this is going to be the seventh part. So this is the seventh part, guys. So those who have not watched the previous session, do watch the previous sessions. They are very important. So this is the seventh part where again we are going to discuss 20 important questions, MCQs, which can be asked in the examination, right? So starting with the achievers question, at the end of every session we discuss the achiever question. So those who give the right answer of these achievers question, their name is displayed in the next session. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पर discuss करते हैं what was the achievers question of the previous session. So question was, which of the following correctly defines net factor income from abroad in the context of national income accounting? This was the question. Options are the total income earned by the domestic factors of production within the domestic economy, the difference between groups gross national income and gross domestic product, the net income earned by the domestic factors of production from investments abroad minus the income earned by the foreign factors of production within the domestic economy, the difference between exports and imports of goods and services, and the total income earned by foreign nationals working within the domestic economy. So those who have not attempted it earlier, guys, you can attempt it right now in the live chat box itself. So right answer would be option number C here, that is this one, that is net income earned by the domestic factors of production from investments abroad minus the income earned by foreign factors of production within the domestic economy. So what is happening, why we calculate the net factor income from abroad? So basically here in the while calculating the gross national product, okay, what we do basically, we consider net factor income from abroad. What is the meaning of that? Basically while calculating GNP, we takes into the consideration nationals. So जो भी production हमारे nationals ने, हमारे citizens ने किया होता है, whether they are producing in India or they are producing in abroad, right? So we consider that only, and the production done by the foreign nationals in our country, that we reduce, right? तो वो कैसे calculate करते हैं net factor income from abroad? So all the factors, if all the factor income that is earned by the citizen of our country, that we take into the consideration, and all the factor income that is earned by foreign nationals in our country, that we deduct from that factor income. So that gives the figure of net factor income from abroad, and this is the option number C. That is why option number C is the right answer here. ठीक है. So but the thing is कि इसको किसी ने भी attempt नहीं किया था, that is why this slide is blank. So guys, if you want to see your name here, so you have to mark the right answer of the achievers question, right? So again in this session also I would be giving achiever question. So if you are answering it correctly, guys, so in tomorrow session I will be showing your name, and this slide basically will not be blank, right? So if you want to see your name, just attempt the achiever question in the comment box, not in the live chat box. ठीक है, चलिए. So question number first of today's session is, Monetary Policy Committee of the Reserve Bank of India is headed by whom of the following? Monetary Policy Committee किसके द्वारा head की जाती है? Options are Union Finance Minister, Union Minister of State for Finance, then Governor of Reserve Bank of India, Deputy Governor of RBI in charge of monetary policy, and an eminent economist. So what do you think, what can be the right answer of this question, guys? And one important condition is that you have to participate simultaneously with me in the live chat box. ठीक है guys, participate करिए, गलतियां करिए. When you commit mistakes in these sessions, then only you will not commit mistakes in the actual examination. तो इस sessions आपकी learning के लिए भी है, आपकी mistakes commit करने के लिए भी, ताकि सारी गलतियां यहाँ पर कर लीजिए, बाद में scope काफी कम रह जाए. ठीक है, बताइए what can be the right answer here? So right answer would be option number C, that is Governor of Reserve Bank of India will be the चेयरपर्सन ऑफ द मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी कमेटी. जो आरबीआई का जो गवर्नर होता है, वही मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी कमेटी का जो है वो चेयरपर्सन होगा. ठीक है जी. Here you can read also about the structure of the monetary policy committee. This I added for your reference, that you can read after the session itself. Question number second is, under the present monetary policy framework agreement, the RBI will be responsible for containing inflation target at what percentage? So options are 4% with a standard deviation of 0.5%, 6% with a standard deviation of 1%, 4% with a standard deviation of 1%, then 4% with a standard deviation of 2%, and 2% with a standard deviation of 4%. बताइए. What is the right answer here, guys, according to you? So we are talking about the inflation target. What is the current inflation target for the Reserve Bank of India? So right answer would be option number D here, that is 4% plus minus 2%. So inflation target is the 4% basically. Okay, inflation target is 4%. If it is asked in the examination, what is the current inflation target for the Reserve Bank of India? So that is 4%, but there is a leeway provided to the RBI that it can be plus minus 2%, right? Plus minus 2%, it can be basically, it can be maximum up to the 6% and to the lowest it can be up to the 2%. तो इस रेंज में रहना चाहिए. If it is in this range only, that is completely acceptable, right? So this is the inflation, current inflation target that you have to remember, and that is valid till 31st March 2026. ठीक है, तब तक के लिए valid है. Before that, government will decide another inflation target, or it can further extend it to next 5 years. So here you can read also, the Monetary Policy Committee is a committee of the Reserve Bank of India headed by its governor. The MPC is a statutory and institutionalized framework under the RBI Act 1934 for maintaining price stability while keeping in mind the objective of growth. It is entrusted with the task of fixing the benchmark policy interest rate, that is repo rate, to contain inflation within the specific target of 4% with a band of plus minus 2%. So basically इसको हर 5 साल में क्या किया जाता है, हर 5 years में इसको रिवाइज किया जाता है. So it was revised in 2021 and now it is valid till 31st of March 2026. ठीक है, so this target is important that you have to keep in mind. Question number 3 is, in the context of Monetary Policy Committee of the Reserve Bank of India, which of the following statement is not correct? Guys, whenever you read the question in the examination, keep in mind whether this question is about the correct statement or the incorrect statement. Because होता क्या, जब हमसे कोई क्वेश्चन आ रहा होता है, ठीक है, हम बहुत ज्यादा हरी में होते हैं, बहुत ज्यादा एक्साइटेड हो जाते हैं और हम ये नहीं पढ़ते कि वेदर दिस क्वेश्चन इज अबाउट करेक्ट और इनकरेक्ट स्टेटमेंट, और इसी के चलते हम यहाँ पे जनरली गलतियां करके आते हैं. व्हेनेवर द क्वेश्चन इज अबाउट इनकरेक्ट स्टेटमेंट, तो हम उसको करेक्ट मार्क करके आ जाते हैं, राइट? सो दिस यू हैव टू अवॉइड, guys. So options are, the MPC has 6 members, that is Monetary Policy Committee has 6 members. Then central government nominees of the MPC appointed by the Search cum Selection Committee will hold office for a period of 4 years and will not be eligible for reappointment. Then RBI Act prohibits appointing any member of parliament or legislature or public servant or any employee, board, committee member of RBI or anyone with a conflict of interest with RBI or anybody above the age of 70 to the Monetary Policy Committee. Then further, quorum for a meeting shall be 4 members and RBI has to organize at least 3 meetings of the MPC in a year. So which of the following is incorrect out of them? So do let me know, guys. Option number E would be the wrong answer here. RBI has to organize at least 4 meetings, not the 2 meetings of the MPC. All the statements are correct, right? So here you can see the panel is required to meet at least 4 times in a year. कम से कम यहाँ पे 4 times यहाँ पे panel को मिलना पड़ेगा, right? But the statement was 3 times. So that is why it was wrong, and E would be the right answer here. Question number 4 is, in the context of term repo and repo rate, which of the following statement is are correct? बताइए, repo and repo rate की बात करें तो कौन सा statement इसमें से correct है? Options are, repo means an instrument for borrowing funds by selling securities with an agreement to repurchase the securities on mutually agreed future date at an agreed price, which includes interest for the funds borrowed. Repo is a money market instrument which enables collateralized short-term borrowings. Repo rate is the rate at which the RBI lends money to the commercial banks in India. All of the above or none of the above? बताइए. So you might have read this topic, the monetary policy, which is very important for both NABARD as well as RBI Grade B. So यहाँ पे बताइए guys, what can be the right answer here? So option number D would be the right answer. That is all of the above. So all these statements are correct, and that is why option number D would be the right answer here, right? So you can read here, रेपो और रीपर्चेज ऑप्शन इज अ कोलेटरलाइज्ड लेंडिंग. कोलेटरलाइज्ड लेंडिंग का मतलब क्या होता है? बेसिकली यहाँ पर होता क्या है, हाउ दिस ऑपरेशन इज कंडक्टेड बेसिकली. सो ऑन वन साइड आरबीआई इज देयर, 2 पार्टिसिपेंट्स आर देयर. तो एक तरफ आरबीआई होता है, एक तरफ कमर्शियल बैंक्स होता है, फॉर एग्जांपल पंजाब नेशनल बैंक. सो व्हेनेवर पंजाब नेशनल बैंक व्हेनेवर feels that they are in the short of fund, right? They are not having the fund and they need immediate funds. So in that case, what they can do, they can approach to the Reserve Bank of India. So Reserve Bank of India will give them a cash, ठीक है? But क्या free में देगी? No. RBI will charge the interest. RBI will charge the interest. तो RBI इसको interest charge करेगी, and also collateralized deposit must be there. ठीक है, collateralized deposit का मतलब क्या होता है? यहाँ पे जब भी हम कभी लोन लेने जाते हैं तो हमें collateral देना पड़ता है, ठीक है? ऐसी तो फ्री में लोन देते नहीं, साथ में हमें एक सिक्योरिटी रखनी पड़ती है. सो collateralized deposit है, इसीलिए इसको हम बोल रहे हैं that is this is a collateralized lending itself, right? Now, question number fifth itself is which among the following defines the marginal standing facility rate? बताइए, which of the following basically defines the marginal standing facility rate? Options are the rate at which banks place their surplus funds with the Reserve Bank of India, the rate at which banks can borrow against their excess SLR securities to meet additional liquidity requirements, the rate at which the RBI is prepared uh, to buy or rediscount bills of exchange or other commercial paper eligible for purchase, the rate at which banks borrow funds from the RBI against eligible collaterals, or none of the above. डू लेट मी नो गाइस, व्हाट डू यू थिंक? बताइए कमेंट बॉक्स में कमेंट करके बताइए, तभी मजा आएगा, ठीक है? चैट बॉक्स में बताइए यहाँ पर व्हाट डू यू थिंक, व्हाट कैन बी द राइट आंसर हियर विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द मार्जिनल स्टैंडिंग फैसिलिटी। देखिए, लर्निंग का सबसे अच्छा तरीका है पार्टिसिपेशन। पार्टिसिपेट करिए, आप सीखते भी रहेंगे, गलतियां भी करते रहेंगे, तो हर चीज आपकी इंप्रूव होगी, ठीक है? So what is the right answer? Right answer would be option number B, that is the rate at which banks borrow against the excess SLR securities to additional liquidity requirements. Basically होता क्या है, whenever bank exhaust their repo limit, ठीक है? मैंने आपको बताया what is the repo operation. Whenever commercial banks feel कि they are in the short of funds, they are short in liquidity, so they can approach to Reserve Bank of India. Reserve Bank of India can give them money, right? But that is up to the some limit, right? ऐसा नहीं कि unlimited पैसा ले सकते, that is up to some limit, and against that RBI will charge the interest also, right? But when we talk about the MSF, so once commercial banks exhaust their repo limit, then in that case they can again further they can avail the fund from the Reserve Bank of India under the marginal standing facility, right? And that is why option number B is there. For that definitely RBI will charge higher interest rate, तो उसमें कोई डाउट नहीं है, क्योंकि आपने एक लिमिट ऑलरेडी एग्जॉस्ट कर ली है. when you again demanding the fund, then in that case RBI will charge the higher interest rate, ठीक है? So marginal standing facility is a new scheme announced by the RBI in its monetary policy 11-12 and refers to the penal rate at which banks can borrow money from the central bank over and above what is available to them through LA window, ठीक है? तो जितना उनको रेपो लिमिट में बेसिकली अवेलेबल था, उससे ऊपर बेसिकली दे आर डिमांडिंग, एंड दैट इज व्हाई इट इज अ काइंड ऑफ penal rate which RBI charges if they avail this facility. So it is a facility under which scheduled commercial banks can borrow an additional amount of overnight money from the Reserve Bank by pledging their SLR पोर्टफोलियो अप टू लिमिट एट पीनल रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट, ठीक है? तो यहाँ पे बेसिकली इस तरीके से एडिशनल फंड, वेन एवर बैंक रिक्वायर्स एडिशनल फंड, दे कैन अप्रोच अंडर द MSF फैसिलिटी एज वेल. Question number 6 is Reserve Bank of India is considered to be the lender of the last resort. This implies which of the following, ठीक है? यहाँ पे lender of last resort बोल रहे हैं हम किसको? RBI को. इसका मतलब क्या है? Options are RBI advances money to the central government whenever there is an emergency. RBI advances money to the public whenever there is an emergency. RBI advances necessary credit against eligible securities to financial institutions. All of the above or none of the above. बताइए, why we are saying that RBI is lender of last resort? तो इनमें से कौन सा explanation सही है फ्रेंड्स? So the correct explanation is option number C here, that is RBI advances necessary credit against eligible securities to financial institutions, ठीक है? तो जब भी financial institutions को पैसे की जरूरत पड़ती है, so they can approach to Reserve Bank of India, क्योंकि financial institutions, जैसे सपोज बैंक्स हो गया, ठीक है? तो बैंक्स में कभी लिक्विडिटी की प्रॉब्लम नहीं आनी चाहिए, अदरवाइज एक ट्रस्ट इशू होता है. तो whenever they feel that they are short of liquidity, then in that case they can approach to the Reserve Bank of India. Definitely RBI will give them money and RBI will charge interest, and also RBI will take some kind of securities, ठीक है, as a collateral. तो बेसिकली वो सारी चीज हो जाएंगी, बट RBI इज देयर टू हेल्प देम, एंड दैट इज व्हाई RBI is considered to be the lender of last resort. Got it? So you can read also, as a banker to banks, the RBI also acts to the lender of the last resort. It can come to the rescue of a bank that is solvent but faces temporary liquidity problems by supplying it with much needed liquidity when no one else is willing to extend credit to that bank. The Reserve Bank extends this facility to protect the interest of the depositors of the bank and to prevent possible failure of the bank, which in turn may also affect other banks and institutions and can hurt financial stability and thus the economy. ठीक है? Question number 7 is RBI adopted CPI, that is Consumer Price Index, combined as the indicator for inflation targeting on the recommendation of which of the following committee? Raghuram Rajan committee, Vimal Jalan committee, Vijay Kelkar committee, Urjit R Patel committee और राकेश मोहन कमिटी. बताइए. सो आरबीआई ने किसकी रिकमेंडेशन पर यहाँ पे CPI कंबाइंड को बेसिकली अडॉप्ट किया था एज द इंडिकेटर फॉर इन्फ्लेशन टारगेटिंग? दिस इज द क्वेश्चन गाइज. ये सारे वो फैक्ट्स हैं जो आपसे एग्जाम में पूछे जा सकते हैं, सो दे आर वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, तो आपको पता होने चाहिए, राइट? So right answer is option number D, that is Urjit R. Patel Committee. So Urjit R. Patel Committee recommended RBI to adopt CPI combined as the indicator of inflation targeting in India, and then only RBI adopted it, right? So here you can see some recommendations of Urjit R. Patel Committee report have been implemented, including the adoption of the new CPI combined as the key measure of inflation. Question number 8 is, which of the following statement accurately describes the responsibility of the RBI as mandated under the Reserve Bank of India Act 1934? Options are: RBI is responsible for fiscal policy in India, RBI is responsible for implementing India's monetary policy, RBI is responsible for formulating India's trade policy, RBI is responsible for regulating India's stock markets, and the RBI is responsible for managing India's external debt. बताइए इसमें से कौन सी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है जो आरबीआई पूरी करता है? डू लेट मी नो गाइस. बताइए, आई एम वेटिंग फॉर योर रिप्लाई. So right answer would be option number B, that is the RBI is responsible for implementing India's monetary policy. जो भी इंडिया की monetary policy है basically उसको कौन implement करेगा? RBI implement करेगी. And what is the basic objective of the monetary policy? To control inflation in the economy and to ensure economic growth. ठीक है, तो ये basically this is the basically mandate of monetary policy, and implementing monetary policy is the responsibility of Reserve Bank of India. चलिए क्वेश्चन नंबर 8 का एक्सप्लेनेशन देखते हैं. RBI is India's central banking institution which controls the issuance and supply of the Indian rupee. It is also responsible for managing the country's monetary policy. This responsibility is explicitly mandated under the RBI Act 1934. The RBI's primary objective is to maintain price stability while keeping in mind the objective of growth. ठीक है, तो I told you कि basically monetary policy के there are two major objectives, that is controlling inflation in the economy, that is maintaining price stability and ensuring economic growth, right? So the other options are incorrect as they do not align with the RBI's mandated responsibility. Got it? चलिए, moving on to the question number 9th. Question number 9th is, how does monetary policy help in controlling inflation? बताइए, how does monetary policy help in controlling inflation? Options are: by increasing government spending, by reducing taxes on goods and services, by adjusting the interest rates and controlling the money supply, by imposing trade tariffs and quotas, by subsidizing essential commodities. सो मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी किस तरीके से इन्फ्लेशन को कंट्रोल करेगा? दिस इज द क्वेश्चन गाइस. डू लेट मी नो व्हाट डू यू थिंक. So right answer would be option number C, that is by adjusting the interest rates and controlling the money supply in the economy. So I told you basically there are two major objectives of the monetary policy, that is maintaining price stability in the economy as well as ensuring economic growth. So in order to achieve the ultimate objective, what RBI does? RBI basically manages interest rate in the economy as well as manages money supply in the economy. So whenever money supply is higher in the economy, right, in that case what will happen? If money is easily available to you, you will definitely demand that at a cheaper rate, right, cheaper rate of interest. Then what you will do? You will demand further. You can buy a car, you can purchase home, you can purchase iPhone S2, right? So demand will increase in the economy when there is a high money supply in the economy, and if demand is increasing, then definitely production will increase, right? So this is the kind of focusing on economic growth. That's second mandate of the RBI's monetary policy. First mandate is maintaining price stability. So whenever RBI feels that there is a high inflation in the economy, what is the thing that RBI will do first? That is reducing money supply. And how RBI will reduce money supply? By increasing interest rates in the economy. So if interest rates are higher in the economy, then in that case middle class people will not demand the loan, right? In that case they will not demand, so they are not going to further going to buy the things like car, bike, house, iPhone, right? If they are not demanding the things, if they are not buying the things, then in that case their prices will come down, and that is the first mandate of monetary policy, that is controlling inflation or maintaining price stability in the economy. So here you can read explanation number 9. Monetary policy helps in controlling inflation primarily by adjusting interest rates and regulating the money supply in the economy. When inflation is high, the central banks such as RBI may increase interest rates. Higher interest rates make borrowing more expensive and saving more attractive, which reduces consumer spending and business investment, thereby slowing down economic activity and reducing inflationary pressure. Same thing that I have told you, you can read in the explanation part itself. Question number 10th is, when was the RBI established in accordance with the provisions of the Reserve Bank of India Act 1934? कब establishment हुआ था RBI का? Options are 26 January 1950, August 15, 1947, 1st April 1935, July 19th 1969 or December 31st 1926? बताइए फ्रेंड्स, डू लेट मी नो व्हेन वाज द आरबीआई established in accordance with the provisions of the Reserve Bank of India? So right answer is option number C, that is 1st April 1935, right? So RBI was established on 1st April 1935 in accordance with the provisions of the RBI Act 1934. This date marks the beginning of the RBI's operation as a India central bank tasked with regulating the issue of banknotes, maintaining reserves to ensure monetary stability, and operating the country's credit and currency system. The other dates provided in the options are incorrect and pertain to other significant events in the Indian history, such as India's independence and Republic Day, or are unrelated to the establishment of the RBI, right? तो RBI Act 1934 के अकॉर्डिंग 1 अप्रैल 1935 को RBI was established. क्वेश्चन नंबर 11th इज हाउ डज द कैश रिजर्व रेशियो हेल्प इन कंट्रोलिंग इन्फ्लेशन? बताइए कैश रिजर्व रेशियो किस तरीके से यहाँ पे इन्फ्लेशन को कंट्रोल करने में हेल्प करता है? ऑप्शंस आर बाय इंक्रीजिंग गवर्नमेंट स्पेंडिंग, बाय रिड्यूसिंग इंटरेस्ट रेट्स, by lowering import duties, by increasing the amount of money banks must hold in reserve, or by subsidizing exports. Do let me know guys, how does the CRR help in controlling inflation? So what is the meaning of CRR? Basically CRR is the percentage of, CRR is a percentage which banks have to keep them with the banks have to keep that with the Reserve Bank of India. So if cash reserve ratio is higher, right, in that case banks need to keep more fund with the Reserve Bank of India, which means they are having the less fund so that they can lend less, right? So in that case what will happen? Money supply will decrease in the economy, and if money supply is decreasing in the economy, then definitely interest rate will be higher in the economy, demand will decrease in the economy, and in resultantly, consequently, basically what will happen? Inflation will control, right? So this is how basically the things will go on. So by increasing the amount of money banks must hold in reserve. So option number D is the right answer. So when RBI increases the CRR, so what will happen? Banks need to keep more fund with the Reserve Bank of India in order to fulfill the mandate of cash reserve ratio, and consequently banks will have less fund. If they have less fund, then definitely what is the consequence? Demand will be lesser in the economy, and also there will be a decrease in the price in the economy, right? So the CRR is a tool used by the RBI to control inflation by managing the amount of funds available in the banking system at the time of high inflation. Whenever RBI feels that there is a high inflation in the economy, so RBI increases the CRR. ठीक है, RBI CRR को बढ़ा देती है, which is the percentage of a bank's total deposit that must be held in the reserve and cannot be lent out. By doing so, the amount of money that banks have available to lend is reduced. This decrease in the lending capacity of banks leads to a reduction in the money supply in the economy, curbing excessive spending and investment, and thereby helping to control inflation. जब भी बैंक्स के पास पैसे कम होंगे तो बैंक क्या करेगी? किसको देगी? Those who are ready to pay higher interest rates. अगर interest rates इकोनॉमी में ज्यादा है, इसका मतलब मिडिल क्लास पीपल they will not go to take loan, right? If they are not taking loan, which means they are not demanding the things. वो घर नहीं खरीद रहे हैं, कार नहीं खरीद रहे हैं, बाइक नहीं खरीद रहे हैं, ठीक है, और आईफोन नहीं खरीद रहे, क्यों? बिकॉज दे डू नॉट हैव मनी, ठीक है। अगर यहाँ पे इंटरेस्ट रेट हाई है, देन इन दैट केस व्हाट विल हैपन? इन सब की डिमांड जब कम होगी तो ऑटोमेटिकली प्राइस यहाँ पे कम हो जाएंगे, और जब प्राइसेस कम हो जाएंगे तो डेफिनेटली यहाँ पे इन्फ्लेशन कंट्रोल हो जाएगा। एंड दिस वाज द क्वेश्चन, ठीक है। क्वेश्चन नंबर 12 इज व्हाट आर द प्राइमरी पर्पसेस ऑफ द सीआरआर? ठीक है, सीआरआर का दैट इज कैश रिजर्व रेशियो का प्राइमरी पर्पस क्या है? ऑप्शंस आर टू इंक्रीज गवर्नमेंट रेवेन्यू एंड प्रमोट्स एक्सपोर्ट्स, to ensure the security of bank deposits and control inflation, to reduce public sector employment and increase foreign reserves, to lower interest rates and subsidize agriculture, to boost consumer spending and increase bank profits. बताइए, what is the primary purpose of the CRR? I told you the meaning of CRR. ठीक है, CRR is a percentage of deposits that banks are having. Basically, the percentage of deposit that banks have to keep with the Reserve Bank of India. That is the cash reserve ratio. ठीक है, percentage of the deposit that banks have to keep with the Reserve Bank of India. This is the CRR. So what is the primary purpose? The primary purpose will be to ensure the security of bank deposit. क्योंकि यहाँ पे होगा क्या? Basically, अगर ऐसा mandate नहीं होगा तो बैंक will give all their deposits in the form of lending, right? तो उनके पास पैसे बचेंगे नहीं, और सपोज यहाँ पे इमरजेंसी में किसी कस्टमर ने बोले मुझे पैसे चाहिए, तो बैंक के पास पैसे नहीं होंगे। सो इन ऑर्डर टू इंश्योर कि यहाँ पे जो डिपॉजिट है वो सेफ रहे और साथ में इन्फ्लेशन को भी कंट्रोल करना है। एंड हाउ? विद द हेल्प ऑफ सीआरआर आरबीआई विल कंट्रोल द इन्फ्लेशन। आई टोल्ड यू इन द previous question itself, right? So here you can read the same thing that we have discussed about the cash reserve ratio. क्वेश्चन नंबर 13 इज हाउ कैन द सीआरआर हेल्प इन बूस्टिंग ग्रोथ। ठीक है, सीआरआर की हेल्प से किस तरीके से जो ग्रोथ है उसे बूस्ट किया जा सकता है। ऑप्शंस आर बाय इंक्रीजिंग इंपोर्ट टैरिफ्स, बाय रिड्यूसिंग गवर्नमेंट सब्सिडीज, बाय लोअरिंग द सीआरआर अलाउज बैंक्स टू लैंड मोर, बाय इंप्लीमेंटिंग स्ट्रिक्टर टैक्स पॉलिसीज, बाय इंक्रीजिंग द रिजर्व रिक्वायरमेंट्स फॉर द फॉरेन एक्सचेंज। बताइए। अभी तो हमने देखा था सीआरआर की हेल्प से किस तरीके से इन्फ्लेशन कंट्रोल करना है। नाउ वी आर डिस्कसिंग हाउ विद द हेल्प ऑफ सीआरआर आरबीआई कैन इंश्योर इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ। ठीक है, यहाँ पे हम ग्रोथ को बूस्ट करने की बात कर रहे हैं। So read the options carefully and do let me know guys, what do you think, what can be the right answer of this question? So right answer would be option number C, that is by lowering the CRR. ठीक है, lowering CRR मतलब for example earlier I'm just taking an example, suppose CRR is 8%, which means if banks have deposit of rupees 100, which means out of 100 they have to deposit rupees 8 with the Reserve Bank of India, right? Which means they are having only 92 rupees to lend. But now suppose RBI reduces it to 2%, which means now banks will have 98 rupees to lend to the public and they have to keep 2 rupees to the Reserve Bank of India with the Reserve Bank of India itself, right? Now they are having more cash. ठीक है, जब उनके पास ज्यादा कैश होगा विच मीन्स कि यहाँ पे दे कैन गिव इट टू द पब्लिक मोर, राइट? अगर ज्यादा लोगों को पैसे देना तो व्हाट नीड्स टू बी डन, बेसिकली इंटरेस्ट रेट नीड्स टू बी ब्रिंग डाउन, राइट? सो बेसिकली इसको कम करेंगे। जब इंटरेस्ट रेट कम होगा तो हम जैसे सारे लोग क्या करेंगे, अपनी डिमांड पूरा करने के लिए जाएंगे। वी विल गो टू परचेज हाउस, कार, बाय आईफोन, बाइक, व्हाट एंड व्हाट नॉट, राइट? सो वी विल डिमांड मोर। व्हेन वी विल डिमांड मोर, सो व्हाट विल हैपन, इन ऑर्डर टू केटर द डिमांड, प्रोडक्शन विल इंक्रीज इन द इकोनॉमी, क्योंकि अल्टीमेटली प्रोडक्शन के बढ़ने से प्रोड्यूसर को भी फायदा है। सो व्हेन डिमांड विल बी हायर, प्रोडक्शन विल बी हायर, एंड इफ प्रोडक्शन इज हायर दैट मीन्स बेसिकली वी आर फोकसिंग ऑन द GDP growth, right, which is nothing but the growth itself. ठीक है, so right option will be by lowering the CRR allows bank to lend more is the right answer to help in boosting growth, right? So the same thing you can read here also. CRR can help boosting economic growth by influencing the lending capacity of banks. When the RBI lowers the CRR, banks are required to hold a smaller portion of their deposits in reserve. ठीक है, जब CRR कम है मतलब बैंक्स को कम पैसे रखने आरबीआई के पास, विच मीन्स कि यहाँ पे मैंडेट को पूरा करें, ज्यादा पैसे बैंक्स के पास है विच दे कैन लेंड टू द पब्लिक। और जब ज्यादा पैसे लेंड करना है तो इंटरेस्ट रेट मस्ट ब्रिंग डाउन। इंटरेस्ट रेट्स अगर नीचे आएंगे, पीपल विल डिमांड मोर। ठीक है, डिमांड बढ़ेगी, प्रोडक्शन बढ़ेगा, एंड प्रोडक्शन बढ़ेगा तो हमारा जीडीपी बढ़ेगा, राइट? दिस इज द कोरिलेशन। क्वेश्चन नंबर 14 इज व्हाट इज द स्टैट्यूटरी लिक्विडिटी रेशियो। बताइए, व्हाट इज द SLR? So read the question statement carefully. The ratio of a bank's foreign reserves to its total deposits, the ratio of a bank's loan to its total deposits, the ratio of a bank's liquid asset to its net demand and time liabilities, the ratio of a bank's fixed deposits to its current accounts, and the ratio of a bank's gold reserves to its total loans. Do let me know guys, what is the meaning of statutory liquidity ratio? SLR का मतलब क्या है यहाँ पर? वी हैव डिस्कस्ड अबाउट द CRR। ठीक है, हमने CRR के बारे में डिस्कस किया था, कैश रिजर्व रेशियो के बारे में। नाउ वी आर डिस्कसिंग अबाउट द SLR। सो व्हाट डू यू थिंक, व्हाट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ SLR हियर? So right answer would be option number C, that is the ratio of a bank's liquid asset to its net demand and time liabilities. ठीक है, क्या होता है, I told you basically कि CRR के केस में क्या हो रहा था, CRR is a percentage of the deposits that banks are having, and banks have to basically deposit the percentage with the Reserve Bank of India in the case of cash reserve ratio, right? Now the same deposit RBI will give the percentage of the same deposit, and that banks have to keep with themselves only. That amount will be freeze, right? That amount they cannot use to lend to the public. This is the statutory liquidity ratio. But that percentage, that mandate, the banks can maintain in the form of cash, in the form of gold, in the form of government securities. So there they can earn some income. But in the case of CRR, they cannot earn income because they are giving it to the RBI, and RBI is not using the same. So if RBI is not earning anything from the CRR amount, then how it can give it to the bank itself, right? So in the case of CRR, banks will not earn anything. But in the case of SLR, if banks are keeping their if banks are fulfilling their mandate of SLR by investing in the government securities, by investing in the gold, then they can definitely earn some income on that, right? So that is why option number C is the right answer. The ratio of a bank's liquid asset to its net demand and time liability. So SLR is the ratio of a bank's liquid assets such as cash, gold or other approved securities to its net demand and time liabilities. NDTL represent the total demand and time liabilities held by the bank. ठीक है, जितने भी deposits होते हैं बैंक के पास, that is a liability for the bank, right? So it can be current account, saving account, जिसको हम बोलते हैं demand deposits, and फिक्स डिपॉजिट हो गया, रिकरिंग डिपॉजिट हो गया, दैट वी कैन से टर्म डिपॉजिट. सो इनको सबको बेसिकली हम बोलते हैं डिपॉजिट, एंड दैट इज द लाइबिलिटी फॉर द बैंक, बिकॉज अल्टीमेटली whenever the account holder will demand the money, banks have to pay that, right? So that is why it is a liability for the bank, and we say net demand and time liabilities, right? तो इसका एक percentage होता है which banks have to keep with themselves in the form of cash or gold or government securities. That is up to the banks itself, right? So this is the statutory liquidity ratio. Moving on to the question number 15th, that is, what authority does the Reserve Bank of India have regarding the statutory liquidity ratio, that is SLR? बताइए. Options are: the RBI can increase the SLR by up to 50%, the RBI can increase the SLR by up to 40%, the RBI can increase the SLR by up to 30%, the RBI can increase the SLR by up to 70%, or the RBI can increase the SLR by up to 80%. guys, do let me know in the live chat box. I'm waiting for a reply. Do let me know. बताइए, आपको बताना guys, ऐसे नहीं. Do participate, तभी मजा आएगा यहाँ पर. What is the right answer of this question, guys, with respect to the SLR? So right answer would be option number B, that is RBI can increase the SLR by up to 40%. ठीक है, तो maximum RBI can increase by up to 40%. तो यहाँ पे RBI क्या बोल सकती है, that is SLR is 40%. ठीक है, इसका मतलब है कि now banks have to keep with themselves 40% of the net demand and time liabilities that they cannot use to lend it to the public, right? उनको फ्रीज करके रखना पड़ेगा. So यहाँ पे that is maximum can be 40% by the Reserve Bank of India. ठीक है friends? So if you read the explanation here, the Reserve Bank of India has the authority to regulate the SLR, which is the ratio of a bank's liquid assets to its net demand and time liabilities. The RBI can increase this ratio to ensure that banks maintain a higher portion of their deposits in liquid assets such as cash, gold, or government securities. This regulatory power allows the RBI to influence the liquidity and credit availability in the banking system. By increasing the SLR, the RBI can effectively reduce the amount of funds available for banks to lend, which can help in controlling inflation and maintaining financial stability. The maximum limit to which RBI can increase SLR is up to 40%. I told you already, providing the central bank with a significant tool for managing the country's monetary policy. ठीक है. क्वेश्चन नंबर 16 की बात करते हैं. व्हाट आर द मेन ऑब्जेक्टिव्स फॉर मेंटेनिंग द स्टैट्यूटरी लिक्विडिटी रेशियो? बताइए, व्हाट आर द मेन ऑब्जेक्टिव्स ऑफ मेंटेनिंग एसएलआर? ऑप्शंस आर: टू इंक्रीज फॉरेन एक्सचेंज रिजर्व्स एंड रिड्यूस पब्लिक डेट, टू प्रमोट फॉरेन इन्वेस्टमेंट एंड स्टेबलाइज द करेंसी, टू कंट्रोल बैंक क्रेडिट एक्सपेंशन, इंश्योर बैंक सॉल्वेंसी एंड कंपेल इन्वेस्टमेंट इन गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटीज, टू रिड्यूस गवर्नमेंट बोरोइंग एंड इंक्रीज प्राइवेट सेक्टर लेंडिंग, और टू लोअर इंटरेस्ट रेट्स एंड बूस्ट कंज्यूमर स्पेंडिंग. What do you think, guys? What is the main objective for the statutory liquidity ratio? बताइए friends, I'm waiting for a reply. What do you think, guys? What is the right answer here? So right answer would be option number C here, that is to control bank credit expansion, ensure bank solvency and compel investment in government securities. ठीक है. So I told you कि what is happening in the case of SLR. SLR is a kind of, is a percentage of the net demand and time liabilities which banks have to keep with themselves only in the form of cash, gold or government securities, right? So one objective can be to control the bank credit expansion. तो अगर यहाँ पे if SLR is increasing, which means now bank have a limit, bank will have a limited money, right? तो यहाँ पे बैंक excess credit ना यहाँ पे बांट दे, उसके लिए basically this is a tool. Ensure bank solvency, ताकि बैंक सारा पैसा ना लोन पे दे दे, बैंक के पास कुछ ना कुछ पैसा होना चाहिए. So this also ensure bank solvency, and also to compel investment in the government securities. Why banks will be compelled? Basically because if banks are investing in the government securities, then definitely they will earn some interest. If they are keeping this cash in the, if they are keeping this fund to, in order to fulfill the requirement of the SLR, if they keeping their cash in the form of cash itself, in that case what will happen? They will not earn anything. But if they are investing in the government securities, they will earn some interest, right? And that is why this is the mandate. So option number C would be the right answer here. So you can read the objective also. The main objectives for maintaining the statutory liquidity ratio are threefold, basically to control bank credit expansion. I told you, by adjusting the SLR, Reserve Bank of India can influence the amount of credit that banks can extend. If RBI wants commercial banks to give more loans, in that case what RBI will do, RBI will reduce the SLR, right? If RBI wants banks to give less loan, right, in that case what will happen, RBI will increase the SLR. ठीक है. Increasing the SLR means bank must hold a higher proportion of their deposits in liquid assets, reducing the funds available for lending. Conversely, decreasing the SLR allows banks to lend more, thereby expanding credit, right? So ये basically हमने discuss किया है. Secondly is ensuring banks solvency. So maintaining a certain level of liquid assets ensures that banks remain solvent and capable of meeting their financial obligations. This requirement acts as a safeguard against potential bank run and financial instability. Number third is compel investment in government securities. So by setting the SLR, the RBI ensures that a portion of bank's fund is invested in the government securities such as government bonds. This not only helps bank maintain liquidity but also provides a stable source of funding for the government projects and reduces reliance on external borrowings. देखिए गवर्नमेंट को पैसे की जरूरत पड़ती है बट गवर्नमेंट के पास हर वक्त पैसा नहीं होता, राइट? सो बाय मेकिंग दिस एज अ मैंडेटरी टास्क, नाउ बैंक विल इन्वेस्ट इन द गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटीज एंड बैंक विल हैव द मनी. ठीक है, तो अगर बैंक के पास पैसे आ जाएंगे तो बैंक विल नॉट नीड टू बोरो फ्रॉम द external source, right? So these are the three important objectives of the statutory liquidity ratio. Question number 17 is how can the SLR help in controlling inflation? बताइए guys. So after discussing the CRR, you might have understood the concept of how SLR will help in controlling inflation. So options are by reducing import tariffs, by increasing government spending, by lowering the interest rates on saving account, by requiring banks to hold a higher percentage of their deposits in liquid assets, and by increasing the number of bank branches. Do let me know friends, I am waiting for a reply. So right answer would be option number D here, that is by requiring banks to hold a higher percentage of their deposit in liquid assets. The question is how can the SLR help in controlling inflation, right? So I told you basically what is SLR. SLR is a percentage of net demand and time liabilities, right, which banks have to keep with themselves. They can either keep in the form of cash, they can keep in the form of gold, they can keep in the form of government securities, right? And also we have discussed that RBI can increase it up to 40%, right? So which means if RBI, suppose if RBI is seeing that there is a high inflation in the economy, then what RBI can do? RBI basically can increase this SLR. So earlier suppose SLR was 10%, I'm just taking an example, 10%, and net demand and time liabilities is rupees 100, right? So in that case what will happen? Only 10 rupees bank have to keep with themselves, right? Now because they are having 90 rupees, so they are having 90 rupees after fulfilling the mandate of SLR, which they can give it to the public in the form of loan, right? But once RBI is seeing that there is a high inflation in the economy, that what RBI will do? RBI will increase it to 40%. I'm just taking an example, right? RBI can increase it to up to any extent, but now I'm taking an example that RBI is increasing up to 40%, which means if again same example, if यहाँ पे net demand and time liabilities is rupees 100, then in that case banks have to keep 40% aside. ठीक है, banks have to keep 40% aside by investing in the form of cash, in the form of gold, or in the form of government securities, which means now they will only have rupees 60 to lend to the public, right? जब यहाँ पे money supply कम होगी, so what will happen? Higher interest rates will be there in the economy. If interest rates are higher in the economy, which means people will demand less. If people will demand less, then what will happen? Prices will come down. ठीक है, money supply कम है तो interest rates ज़्यादा होंगे economy में, क्योंकि limited पैसे को बहुत लोग chase कर रहे होंगे. And if limited people is chasing the money, then in that case what will happen? Interest will increase in the economy, and in the case of higher interest rate, people will demand less in the economy, and if people are demanding less in the economy, then in that case what will happen? Prices will come down. Got it? So this is how basically statutory liquidity ratio will help in controlling inflation. You can read the explanation also here, that is SLR can help in controlling inflation by requiring banks to hold a higher percentage of their deposits in liquid assets such as cash, gold, or government securities, right? Then further, when the RBI increases the SLR, banks have less money available to lend to businesses and consumers because a larger portion of their deposits must be kept in liquid form. This reduction in the availability of credit reduces the overall money supply in the economy, which can help to decrease consumer and business spending. Got it? चलिए मूविंग ऑन टू द क्वेश्चन नंबर 18th. क्वेश्चन नंबर 18th इज व्हाट इज रेपो इन द कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ बैंकिंग. ठीक है, रीपर्चेज ऑप्शन क्या होता है इन द कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ बैंकिंग. दो वी हैव डिस्कस्ड इट बट आपको बताना है व्हाट इज द राइट आंसर अकॉर्डिंग टू यू. सो ऑप्शंस आर अ लॉन्ग टर्म लोन गिवन बाय कमर्शियल बैंक्स टू द गवर्नमेंट, a tool used by the banks to invest in foreign exchange markets, a collateralized lending arrangement where banks borrow money from the RBI by selling securities with an agreement to repurchase them, a method used by the RBI to control the exchange rate of the rupee, a fixed deposit scheme offered by the commercial banks to their customers. So what is the meaning of repurchase option in the context of banking, guys? Do let me know. बताइए. So what is the repo, guys? Basically we have discussed earlier also. Two participants are there in the repo operation, right? So number first is Reserve Bank of India and number second is any commercial bank. We are just taking an example of Punjab National Bank, right? So suppose Punjab National Bank is basically is in short of funds, right? If they are facing short of liquidity, then in that case what options they have? They can simply go to the Reserve Bank of India. So they can approach to the Reserve Bank of India and they can ask for the short term money, right? So यहाँ पे cash will be provided by the Reserve Bank of India to the Punjab National Bank. क्या ये फ्री में होगा? नो. RBI will charge इंटरेस्ट. ठीक है, RBI will charge इंटरेस्ट रेट. तो यहाँ पे RBI will charge इंटरेस्ट जिसको हम बोलेंगे यहाँ पे रेपो रेट. So rate at which RBI is giving the loan to the commercial banks, so that rate is known as repo rate. Repurchase option, right? Now यहाँ पे हम बोल रहे हैं repurchase, so something must be repurchased here, right? So यहाँ पे second thing is RBI will also take कोलेट्रल. गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटीज का कोलेट्रल भी लेगा. ठीक है, फ्री में तो लोन देगा नहीं. आरबीआई विल चार्ज द इंटरेस्ट एंड आरबीआई विल आल्सो डिमांड कोलेट्रल. कोलेट्रल व्हाट विल बी द कोलेट्रल? कोलेट्रल विल बी द बेसिकली दिस वन, दैट इज गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटीज. ठीक है, तो गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटीज विल बी द कोलेट्रल हेयर. ठीक है जी. तो यहाँ पे गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटी जब कोलेट्रल होगा तो इन दैट केस उसके बाद क्या होगा? जब ये एग्रीमेंट पूरा हो जाएगा, जब बैंक्स विल रिटर्न द मनी, इन दैट केस व्हाट विल हैपन? बेसिकली यहाँ पे बैंक विल आल्सो रीपर्चेज देयर गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटीज एंड दैट इज व्हाई इट इज नोन एज रीपर्चेज ऑप्शन. इसीलिए इसको हम बोले रीपर्चेज ऑप्शन. व्हाट इज बीइंग रीपर्चेज्ड हियर? गवर्नमेंट सिक्योरिटीज आर बीइंग रीपर्चेज्ड हियर व्हिच हैव डिपॉजिटेड बाय द commercial bank to the to the Reserve Bank of India in order to avail loan from the Reserve Bank of India, right? So this is the basically concept of repurchase option and that is why option number C would be the right answer. That is a collateralized lending arrangement where banks borrow money from the RBI by selling securities with an agreement to repurchase them. You can read the explanation here. A repo or repurchase option is a short-term borrowing mechanism used by banks to meet their immediate liquidity needs. In a repo transaction, banks sell securities to the Reserve Bank of India with an agreement to repurchase the same securities at a predetermined rate and date. This arrangement is collateralized, meaning the securities act as collateral for the loan. The predetermined rate at which the repurchase takes is also known as repo rate, and this tool is essential in monetary policy for managing liquidity in the banking system. By adjusting the repo rate, the RBI can influence the cost of borrowings for banks, thereby affecting overall liquidity and the economic activity. ठीक है. Question number 19th is what does a high repo rate signal in the context of banking? If there is a high repo rate in the economy, then what does it signal? Basically options are bank will have more funds available for lending, banks will reduce interest rates on loans, access to money is expensive for banks leading to lesser credit flow into the system, banks will increase their investment in foreign assets and banks will decrease their reserve requirement. Do let me know, guys, what will happen when there is a high repo rate in the economy. So what will happen, guys? Do let me know. So right answer would be option number C, that is access to money is expensive for banks leading to lesser credit flow into the system. So whenever RBI sees that there is a high inflation in the economy, right? So what RBI will do? RBI can increase the repo rate. So what will happen? Suppose earlier repo rate was I can say 3%, right? 3%. So what was happening earlier? Banks were taking the loan from the Reserve Bank of India and they were easily giving to the public at the rate of 7 to 8%, right? So that was a win-win situation for both public as well as bank, right? But what is happening? RBI is feeling that there is a high inflation in the economy. That what RBI will do? RBI will increase the repo rate. Suppose RBI is increasing the repo rate to 7%, right? Now RBI is saying that if you want loan from me, then in that case you have to pay 7% interest rate, which was earlier 3%. So what will happen? Now if banks are going to take loan from the Reserve Bank of India, first of all they have to give 7% to the Reserve Bank of India. Number first. Number second is basically what will happen then? They will, if they give the same fund to the public itself, so what will happen then? They will charge at least 12 to 13%, which means interest rate will high in the economy. And if interest rate is high in the economy, which means people will demand less, right? Because interest rates are high in the economy, people will demand less, and if people are demanding less, in that case what will happen? Basically inflation will be controlled because price will come down, right? So this is the how basically things are going on. That is, access to money is expensive for banks क्योंकि interest rate ज़्यादा है यहाँ पर, leading to lesser credit flow from in the flow into the system. तो bank will avoid taking loan from Reserve Bank of India, and that will lead to lesser credit flow into the system. ठीक है जी. So you can read the explanation also. That is, a high repo rate signals that borrowing money from the Reserve Bank of India is expensive for commercial banks. As a result, banks will be less inclined to borrow funds due to the higher cost associated with the repurchasing the securities they use as collateral. Consequently, with higher borrowing cost, banks will have less money to lend out to businesses and consumers. This reduction in available credit leads to a lesser credit flow into the system, which can help to curb inflation by decreasing consumer and business spending. ठीक है जी. Question number 20th. Question number 20th is, when the Reserve Bank of India takes actions that decrease the money supply in the economy, which of the following outcome is likely to occur? ठीक है, जब भी यहाँ पर Reserve Bank of India एक्शन लेती है बेसिकली that decrease the money supply in the economy, तो इसमें से उसका आउटकम क्या होता है? Increased consumer spending, higher inflation rates, lower inflation rates, reduced investment and economic slowdown, and greater availability of the credit. Do let me know guys. So right answer would be option number D, that is reduced investment and economic slowdown. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे बेसिकली क्या होगा? जब भी मनी सप्लाई यहाँ पे कम हो जाएगी, ठीक है, मनी सप्लाई जब इकोनॉमी में कम होगी, so what will happen बेसिकली? इन्वेस्टमेंट और इकोनॉमिक स्लोडाउन भी कम होंगे, ठीक है. तो यहाँ पे बेसिकली यहाँ पे इन्वेस्टमेंट कम होगा और इकोनॉमिक स्लो डाउन आएगा. क्यों? क्योंकि यहाँ पे बेसिकली मनी सप्लाई जब यहाँ पे कम हो रहा है, ठीक है, मनी सप्लाई कम हो रहा है, इसका मतलब अब बैंक्स के पास ज्यादा पैसे नहीं है, मनी सप्लाई कम है, इसका मतलब इंटरेस्ट रेट्स आर हायर इन द इकोनॉमी, एंड इफ इंटरेस्ट रेट्स आर हायर देन डेफिनेटली पीपल विल डिमांड लेस, तो उससे इन्वेस्टमेंट कम होगी और साथ ही साथ में यहाँ पे इकोनॉमिक स्लो डाउन आएगा. क्यों? क्योंकि यहाँ पे लोग डिमांड नहीं करेंगे तो प्रोडक्शन नहीं होगा, और प्रोडक्शन नहीं होगा, सो यहाँ पे बेसिकली क्या होगा? स्लो डाउन आएगा, राइट? सो यू कैन रीड द एक्सप्लेनेशन ऑफ दिस क्वेश्चन इटसेल्फ. सो ऑल दीज आर द 28 क्वेश्चंस दैट वी हैव discussed as a part of this batch, this 7th part of the practice batch question, guys. Very important that you have to keep in mind. ठीक है, and guys this is the basically achiever question. The rule you know very well कि achiever question का आंसर कहाँ देना है? achiever questions का आंसर देना है आपको comment box, not in the live chat box. So those who are giving the right answer of this achiever question, their name would be reflected in the next session, that is in the tomorrow session. तो आपका name फर्स्ट में इनिशियली आपका नेम जो है वो डिस्प्ले किया जाएगा इफ यू आर गिविंग द राइट आंसर ऑफ दिस क्वेश्चन इन द कमेंट बॉक्स. ठीक है, सो क्वेश्चन इज व्हाट इज द प्राइमरी टूल इन द आरबीआई मॉनेटरी पॉलिसी एंड क्रेडिट पॉलिसी? मॉनेटरी एंड क्रेडिट पॉलिसी ऑप्शंस आर रेपो रेट, एसएलआर, सीआरआर, बैंक रेट एंड एमएसएफ. ठीक है, सो डू लेट मी नो द राइट आंसर इन द कमेंट बॉक्स, नॉट इन द लाइव चैट बॉक्स, ताकि आपका नेम जो है वो कल वाले सेशन में आई कैन शो, राइट? एंड गाइस दोज हु आर प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर आरबीआई ग्रेड बी 2025 एग्जामिनेशन, तो यहाँ पे वी हैव ऑलरेडी स्टार्टेड द फाउंडेशन कोर्स विच इज नोन एज लक्ष्य बैच. तो यहाँ पे हमने स्टार्ट कर दिया 2025 के लिए गाइस. तो इफ यू आर अ सीरियस एस्पिरेंट, इफ यू वांट टू prepare for the RBI Grade B examination, guys, this can be the best opportunity for you, क्योंकि यहाँ पे अभी टाइम है आपके पास, and also as a part of this course you can learn a lot, because यहाँ पे initially we would be focusing on building the foundation. ठीक है, उसके बाद we will take you to the requirement of the examination, क्योंकि यहाँ पे सिर्फ syllabus complete कराना is not the agenda, right? syllabus complete तो करना ही, that is important, but उसके साथ साथ आपको foundation भी clear करना है, आपका foundation को strong बनाना है, सारे concepts को clear करना है, and this is the basic purpose of this particular course. ठीक है, फिर आपने कभी economics पढ़ी हो, finance पढ़ी हो या ना पढ़ी, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता गाइस. प्रायर नॉलेज इज नॉट रिक्वायर्ड फॉर दिस कोर्स बेसिकली. सो इफ यू आर कंप्लीटली फ्रेशर, इफ यू हैव नेवर रेड सब्जेक्ट्स, डू नॉट वरी अबाउट, जस्ट ज्वाइन द कोर्स. यू कैन सी अ ड्रास्टिक gain in your knowledge, right, with respect to the concepts from the economics, finance and management and all the phase 1 components itself. So the link is given in the description itself, guys. iska jo link hai course ka, that is given in the description. Check the link and you can see the features, the deliverables that we are providing as a part of this course. And in order to subscribe the course, use the coupon code Prakash. So this is my name, and this will also work as a coupon code. So when you subscribe the course, you can see apply coupon option there. So you have to apply Prakash. After applying this coupon code, you can see a drastic discount in the final prices, and that will give basically that will make the course more affordable for you. तो आपके लिए और भी ज़्यादा affordable हो जाएगा, right? And use this group, basically join this group, Telegram group. इसको join करिए, इसको यूटिलाइज करिए. सो वॉट एवर क्वेरीज यू हैव, इन केस ऑफ RBI ग्रेड बी, NABARD ग्रेड या कोई भी रेगुलेटरी बॉडी एग्जाम है, छोटी क्वेरी, बड़ी क्वेरी, वट एवर क्वेरीज यू हैव, यू कैन सिंपली पोस्ट इन द ग्रुप. आई विल पर्सनली बी टेकिंग केयर ऑफ योर क्वेरी. जो भी क्वेरी होगी आई विल पर्सनली बी रिजॉल्विंग दैट, राइट. तो ये दोनों चीजें आप कर सकते हैं. एंड ऑल्सो इन द डिस्क्रिप्शन वी आर प्रोवाइडिंग यू द गूगल फॉर्म लिंक. सो इफ यू हैव एनी क्वेरी of with respect to the RBI grade B examination, just fill the Google form. Our team will get back to you to resolve all your queries. So thank you very much for attending the session. This is all with respect to today's session. We'll meet in next part in tomorrow itself. So at the same time 7 p.m. So till then, goodbye and happy learning, guys.